How are we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. I'm chilling out at the moment and just having a beer and a smoke, and I thought I'd have a chat with you about gatekeeping. My friend who runs a cigar shop is going to hate me for this, but I ran out and just had to get something cheap from the shop I live next door to. So there you go. So gatekeeping. It seems to be a hot topic at the moment in the metal scene. And it's not the first time this has come up. Won't be the last. And it seems the latest subject that's kicked this little debate off is Mr. Youngblood. And it seems if the comment sections are anything to go by, the metal scene doesn't recognise a tourist when they see one. The people that are sticking up for this guy is unreal. He's a tacky X Factor contestant at best. And I think Justin Hawkins, it was actually Dan Hawkins that started it off. And Justin did a YouTube video sticking up for his brother. And it seems Justin Hawkins has been like all but ostracised now for pointing out what was in front of him. But let's go back to the beginning, shall we? For old fogies like me, when you got into metal, you kind of you were an outsider, and you kind of had to make sacrifices. You know, if you were a metaler in a certain area, you got hostility. I mean, I'm not making out. You know, I don't want to play any victim politics, and which is all around us nowadays. But you were looked down upon, and you were treated differently, and I suppose you kind of played into that a little bit as like an act of defiance. But there were certain areas you wouldn't have gone to. I mean, I never had it myself, but yeah, you'd get set upon by certain people. I've heard of metalers and goths and whatnot getting beaten up. And I remember it was a regular thing when we would be queuing up outside a certain club. There would be people would drive past and like just throw eggs at people. Fucking grungers, And Sophie Lancaster, which took years to be labelled as a hate crime. Now you just tweet and it's a hate crime. She was killed for, being who she was. So, I'm just going on right to the extreme end of the argument and then work my way back. But metal and punk and hardcore and whatever, there was ways, to sort of keep people away that were just, I don't know how you want to put it, posers and whatever. I'll come to the hardcore scene later on, but this subculture, it's just funny. This was something that you had to discover yourself, and you kind of had to step out into. And I remember feeling different as a kid, and then when I went to my first nightclub that was just pure metal, I remember just that feeling of just finding home. And there's this old trope when you see some celebrity wearing a Ramones t-shirt or an Iron Maiden t-shirt, and you go like, name 3 songs, but it became a thing. And I guess, but it was a valid point. It was like you were probably one of those people that took the piss out of someone for wearing that shirt at school, and now you're wearing it because it's cool. And then you see like the Kardashians spending a fortune on vintage t-shirts, and yeah, the whole vintage t-shirt has become a thing. Bit like with the sneakers thing. Like, have you ever? I don't know if you've ever seen that, but like people are like investing in limited edition sneakers, and it seems like that's the thing now. But people are paying £1,000 for like an old Iron Maiden t-shirt and or a Bathory long sleeve. I mean, yeah, because that's what Bathory were all about, wasn't it? And so I can see people getting a bit ticked off when now we have Urban Outfitters. I suppose we have Hot Topic in America, where I mean, Urban Outfitters. Are you into hip hop? Right, that's your section. Are you into punk? Right, that's your section. Are you into metal? Right, that's your section. Whatever subculture you want to be, you could just go to this section of this clothes shop now, and you'll be decked out. And that's it. You are one, And I think as well with this modern way we have with music, where everything's a click away. The whole, I get that there was the hipster culture where someone would sort of be snobby about certain bands and things like that, but you earned your knowledge back then by you would scratch the surface and then dig deeper into deeper bands. But it was you that was going through record shops. It was you that was going through magazines or early fanzines. And I mean, fanzines, they were, homemade. They were independent, and you were going to gigs and watching the support bands. And so when you discovered something, like you earned that knowledge, and there's no earning knowledge anymore. And then we've got this thing where it's I remember this, like, at the moment, that like you read these articles like, oh, is there enough diversity in metal? And it's like, what are you talking? Metal never gave a shit about what you look like. All metal ever gave a shit about was, could you play? Were your songs good? That was never a topic, never an issue. And then you got this, like, I remember a few years ago you had this like world metal thing where you had these people like Barney from from Napalm Death was there, and a couple of other people all sitting around with microphones, sort of congratulating themselves about world. It was like, what? This was always a thing. What are you talking about? You could always, and it was something to be proud of. You could throw a dart at the map of the world and go onto Metal Archives. Thank God for Metal Archives, and you would find a bunch of bands from that country. So yeah, this is the thing now. We keep being told metal is for everyone. Metal is for everyone, and it's not just metal. It's everywhere in the culture at the moment. You've got the whole, with movies, and you've got your critical drinkers and Nerderotic and Molar and all that, and you've got, the woke virus is just, penetrating everything. Warhammer's the latest one now. Warhammer is for everyone. It's like, it's not for everyone. Metal isn't for everyone. Your nan is not going to get into Cannibal Corpse, no matter how much you explain to her how good they are. You will not be able to explain to your granddad, who likes Jethro Tull, about Mastodon. Well, you might, but the majority of us won't. Metal isn't for everyone. Metal is for people that like it, and you meet it on its terms. Just like Warhammer. So no one is excluded. No one's stopping anyone buying a CD or buying tickets to a show. I mean, not so much nowadays because tickets are so expensive. It's a commitment to buy a ticket nowadays. But, you get what I'm saying. There's nothing stopping your nan or anyone going to a show and checking out a metal band or, whatever it is. No one's excluded, but it's not for everyone. It's a niche, and it used to be a subculture of outsiders, and now it just seems like anyone can just walk in and fight for 5 minutes and, oh yeah, you were here the whole time. when I was getting into metal, you know, in my particular corner of the world, it was a thing against garage music. It was a thing against boy bands. And nowadays, you'd get a boy band. If you had a boy band, if the Backstreet Boys did a song with a drummer doing a blast beat in the background, people would eat it up. I remember having arguments with people defending baby metal. It was like, seriously? And you kind of had this creeping in thing with festivals. When it, like, with novelty acts, you always had like the comedy act, and it was just, you know. But yeah, so I guess you can say I'm for gatekeeping, because that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to preserve and keep something from being taken over from subversive, dishonest actors. That, you know, these people that want to change these things aren't doing it for your benefit. You know, you pick up an issue of Kerrang magazine nowadays, it looks like smash hits. And yeah, you know, you're telling me Youngblood is now like the king of metal. I mean, it would have been different if he suddenly was honest. If he was honest about it and went, I've discovered this form of music and I've fallen in love with it, and now I want to start doing it. Just like Matt Bellamy, is that his name? From Muse. I'm going to go with, let's say Matt. I'm sure it's Matt Bellamy from Muse. Anyway, he discovered metal through his son. He said this in interviews. There was a lot of metallic riffs in the latest Muse album. I don't like that again. And he said, I discovered Slipknot and Meshuggah and a bunch of other bands. And I started studying their sounds, their setup, and I started writing riffs. And he said, I had to basically reapproach how I played guitar and how I wrote songs. And he said, you know, do not get it wrong. This is the best. These are the best musicians on earth. I love metal now. So I've incorporated metal into Muse's sound. If Youngblood just came out and just went, yeah, just did a metal album, just dropped it without telling anyone, and everyone went, wow. Do you know what he could have done? He could have owned everyone and released it under a different name and then revealed it later on. That would have thrown everyone off. You know, when you have Ed Sheeran collaborating with Bring Me the Horizon and Cradle of Filth, you know, it's like, well, oh, you're a metaler now, are you, Ed? You know? So that's what it's about, really. It's stopping. It's just going, whoa, hold your horses, you know. And it's all right going, oh, you know, oh, yeah, but we're at the point now. I know people can get carried away with it, which I'm going to get to. In fact, let's get into it now. So the other side of the coin, and I know who you're talking about. You're talking about that the neckbeard that's never happy. And I get what you're going with this. So there's gatekeeping, and then on the other side there's purity spiraling, and you get this with everything. You get it with political ideologies. You get it with any sort of group of anything. So yes, there's gatekeepers, and they have their use. But then you have the purity spiraler. What's a purity spiraler? I only like Metallica's first 5 albums. I only like Metallica's first 4 albums. I only like Metallica with Cliff Burton. I only like Metallica's demo. And I only like Megadeth's first album. Then you get the demo dumbass, the guy that's just obsessed with demos. Oh yeah, that's all well and good, but have you heard the demos? You know, fuck off. And get it with black metal. I only listen to black metal. But Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth, they're crap. They're overproduced. They're commercial. They're on a... Okay, right. So Dark Throne, Mayhem, yeah, but... And then it goes further from there. Then to the next thing you know, you're only listening to demos of stuff that's recorded in this room by some band called Blasphemic Nun. I can't really say it because I'm like, you know what I'm getting at. So that guy that's never happy, never pleased. And I get it, you know, when you maybe you might discover a band when they are in their demo stage and they get signed and they get, you know, they're not your little secret anymore. They're not that thing that you discover. I get that. I get the thing with that. And I get the disappointment when a band changes, like just goes flat out commercial. But I get it. Both sides of the argument. But we're at the point now, people, where Busted are playing Download. And these wankers all went along with it and were like, yeah, 3,000. You know, it's like, nah. And this is the thing. I don't think, this is the problem. It's the, who cares, bro? Nothing matters, bro. It's just a concert, bro. It's just a movie. What do you care? Why does it bother you? Why does it affect you? They're the problem. And that's the problem with society on the whole at the moment. When you try and speak up for anything, you just get things out, why does it matter? And that's the problem nowadays. Nothing matters and nothing's allowed to matter. And this is where we are. So, yeah. Summing up, you're always going to get, you're going to get the demo dumbasses, I know. And you're always going to get dickheads that, you're always going to get idiots, I know. But the thing is, when you look at the comments now, and they're like, oh, look at all the gatekeepers. Look at all the, you know, they're using gatekeeper where they should say purity spiralers. And it's like, well, if you're not bothered, what does it matter about gatekeepers? Because gatekeepers are keeping this genre good for you. They're doing it for you. You know? But it used to matter that you were against the mainstream. You was rejecting boy bands. You was rejecting pop music. This was intelligent music that you used to be dismissed for listening to, but you knew deep down, and you all knew, that this type of music took just as much talent and hard work to be good at than any other type of music. So you had nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to feel guilty of. These people were calling you Satan worshippers, and I know there are a lot of you are now, but the Satanic Panic, for example, when these people in suits were the ones that were molesting children, you know, Epstein files, all that stuff. It was them that was gaslighting people into thinking there was something wrong with them. That was them that was blaming all of the world's ills on heavy metalers. So this was you know, we were the night breed, you know. And now you've just got people just going, oh, whatever, you know. Just let the X Factor contestant become Ozzy Osbourne overnight. Just let Busted play Download and pretend that they were a punk band the whole time. Let's rewrite history. Metal's for everyone, bro. No, it's not. As I say before, it's for those that like it, and you meet metal on its terms. Now, you might not like gatekeepers, but without gatekeepers, metal is going to become like country music. And we wouldn't want that now, would we? Till next time, folks. I'll catch you later. Have a good weekend.